So what if I told you there's an AI tool that just builds high converting pricing pages for you in under 15 minutes? And no, it's not some fancy plugin or template. At the end of the day, it's something we built ourselves at ProductLed because we build a lot of pricing pages for our clients. But before I show it to you, I want to teach you the same 4-step system that has helped OpenAI and many other successful software companies nail their pricing plans, and what most SaaS founders get completely wrong with pricing. And we're going to help you avoid that same mistake. So recently, last week, I shared this post on LinkedIn about OpenAI using a 50-year-old pricing strategy, and it blew up. There's over 1,200 plus reactions and 400,000 people saw this. And founders were shocked that pricing could be this scientific. But I realized something. Most people still don't really know how to turn that pricing insight into a simple pricing page that actually converts. So I wanted to make it way easier for you with a step-by-step framework and a GPT that actually just built it with you with a few limited inputs from yourself. So the framework I'm going to be sharing with you is the exact system we use with hundreds of SaaS companies to drive more conversions. I call it the value ladder framework. And so your price, at the end of the day, should scale with customer success. So if you're providing more value, well, you should be able to charge more if you have the right value metrics. So that's the first thing, is we got to discuss step 1 of the ladder. What is your lever in your value metric? Is it per seat? Is it per upload? Is it by revenue processed? We got to get very specific on your value metric. That is the foundation of a good pricing page. The second thing is your pricing matrix. Now, this is how you structure your tiers. So typically, most product-led companies have 3 plans. There's your free one, there's your pro edition, and maybe there's something like enterprise or your growth plan. And it should have a clear positioning one-liner that says, hey, this is best for people like this. And for instance, for startups that are scaling fast, for our free edition. And you want to show what's included and drive action with great calls to action at the end of this. And you must pass what I call the 5-second test, where people can just look at your pricing matrix and be like, that one, that's the plan for me. Now, the third step is we got to get really clear on what is your ideal price. Now, this is hard for a lot of companies, especially early stage companies, and there's a lot of approaches out there of what you could do. But one of our favorite ones is the Van Westendorp pricing survey. And why I like this one is because you can really test the willingness to pay by asking a few questions such as, hey, like what's an acceptable price? Or what feels expensive to you, to really get the optimal pricing range. And that's how you can find the sweet spot, just like OpenAI did when they decided, hey, this is going to be our $20 per month plan. Now, the last step of the value ladder framework is really just putting everything together. This is where we build a simple pricing page, and we also add in a headline that positions the price of what you do and makes it look like a great deal. We add in the pricing matrix, the FAQs, your value metrics, and we also add in some optional elements like testimonials or any guarantees that you have based on what are the biggest objections of what prevents people from buying your product. And this is my favorite part because it's like, ta-da, everything comes together and you can finally see how this works. Now, what I want to share with you is how to actually do this using our GPT that we are going to give you access to. And so this is the product-led pricing page GPT. And what I would recommend is just start here. You just click, very simple. Let's build a pricing page from scratch together. And for the purposes of this, I am going to pick a company that's relatively easy to understand what they do. So this is mouseflow.com. And what I like about Mouseflow is they are make it easy for you to record your screen and understand how are people actually using your product. So we have for marketing teams, and you can understand your users' behavior, and you can kind of see what they do here as well. Now, I'm going to go to the pricing page, and I'm just going to copy this. So if you have a pricing page, fantastic. This is going to save us a little bit of time. And if you don't have a pricing page, that's okay. You can just go through the questions. Be like, hey, I don't have one. GPT, help me out. And we'll go through that next step. So we have a freemium model. And do you want to stay self-serve? No. Contact sales for enterprise. And would you like to keep recorded sessions? Yes. So one thing we've already done, and this is great if you have pricing already, is you can decide, do we keep the same value metric or not? And in this case, I am going to stay with it just so it's a little bit easier, but it will go through and grade you based on our 3-point checklist for a good value metric. Is it simple? Is it aligned with the value you provide? And is it scalable? So that's really, really important, because if I'm like, what is a session? Then doesn't pass the 5-second test, because people have to go through and really think about which plan is right for me. So we got that part. Now we can go to phase 2, which is the pricing matrix. So this is where we got the first tier of what do we give away for free. So what this is all about, the 500 sessions for free, is do we want to keep that? Now, a lot of times, this is where the true value is. It's the one-liner promise is not clear. So for the free plan, I'll just put that as free. The one-liner promise is understand where your users are dropping off. Okay, so we've got that. And now with the value metric limit, let's actually stay with 3, same. We'll give them access to that. But here's the thing. They are actually not giving away one specific thing that would make it really, really helpful for me to go through and actually accomplish this. This is understanding your funnel. If you don't know the funnel, well, it doesn't matter if you give them 500 or 1,000 sessions to go through and see those recordings. You have to understand the funnel. So one funnel visualization with the product. So we got that. 5, try for free. Okay, so we've got our first plan done. This is pretty straightforward, and it just tightens it up already. Fantastic. We got our first draft. So yes, let's move on. Now for the growth plan, this is where we really want to get clear on what to include for each of the plans. So I'm just going to call it the growth plan. That works. And one-liner promise. So I got to think a little bit more, because what would make people want to upgrade at this stage? There could be getting their rest of their team on board. It could be, I hit the limit of 500 sessions. That's going to happen for a lot of people. But what is it that I want to do? Understand all the traffic. So I think that would be one piece. Is the one-liner promise is understand what's going on your entire website and monitor all the funnels. So you might have one product line trying to understand what's going on there, and then you just want to understand others. So I'm going to put 3. And notice here, like there's spelling mistakes. There's a lot of things I'm not doing as well. That's completely fine, because it's just AI. It will kind of get the gist of what you're going through. So I'm still going to go through and just get started for that one. And it's going to draft it all up. Now we're almost done at the second step, which is the pricing matrix. And the last one is really straightforward. This is just where you kind of hide all your fancy features that are really specific to the enterprise. And you could have a bit of a different call to action, like talk to sales. So I'm just going to say, like, you do it. Delegate is the best. Since this is an example, I'll go super quick. That works. Fantastic. Now, phase 3. This is where we're going to go through your ideal price. And for this part, there's a couple things you could do. There's the Bandwidth Lite survey, which is a much faster version we recommend. There's benchmarking the price based on full story and everything else. I'm just going to say, for the purposes of this, let's go with 2. And this is going to look at some of the other competitors in the space and suggest potential prices for this. So free, that's easy. But then for the growth, okay, great. There's some recommendations based on that. And you could even ask like, how did you come up with this? And mind you, this is not the scientific way. This is just for the purposes of getting pricing out the door much faster. You would ideally do a little bit more research than this, but you can actually see here's how it's thinking through it. And that looks good to me. Yes, let's move on. So the last phase, this is just where we're putting everything together and big banner headlines. And it's just simply asking me like, which one makes the most sense? Fix what they don't. So behavior analytics that turns drop-offs into conversion. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick B on this one. And then it's gonna go through the subheading, free forever, no credit card, canceling time. Yes, let's go A. And we're almost done. This is just gonna put together the pricing matrix in a format. So let's go with B. That sounds fun. And now we got the risk reversal line. So this is just one more thing that we do to make sure it's really a no-brainer for people to go through. And B, there we are. And there might be some FAQ options that people will go through and need to go through. It will suggest and do a great job like, hey, these are the potential ones that you might want to consider, but you could just go through, pick the ones you want. Because in this case, it's an example, doesn't matter. But I love having FAQ questions with all the core objections. So like, why mouse flow versus a free alternative or something like that would be a good one to have. Now, here is the output. You have this entire breakdown of what this looks like. Now, what I do is I just go to Claude, because Claude is much better at this than ChatGPT in my opinion. And I just say, design this pricing page with the branding, mouseflow.com, done. And this will take a little minute, but it's gonna get us a pretty solid artifact that looks decent. And we're just gonna fast forward to that section, but you're gonna see just what that looks like. Okay, so while we were waiting, this, by the way, the design sucks. So we would have to do some fine tuning on this one. You could also put this in Vercel or Lovable, probably get better results. But for the purposes of this, you have a pretty simple pricing page here from Claude. I also literally just asked ChatGPT the same thing in that same GPT, and I said, hey, can you design this page? And this is something you probably see more in the product, not like a public pricing page, because there is literally no branding to it, but I do actually like how simple it is to select each of these plans. And it's very straightforward. It's actually way less complex than it currently is right now. If you think about which option passes that 5-second test, there might be some other things we might want to have, like one of those comparison charts, but already it's night and day different and way easier for people to understand, hey, like, is this for me or not? So to recap, this is how you build a high converting pricing page as fast as humanly possible. You have to implement the value ladder framework. That starts with understanding what is your value metric, what is that pricing matrix that breaks down the top 3 options for how to get started with your product. And then you have to nail down what is the ideal price. There's a few different ways you could do that, whether that's the Van Westendorp survey or going through with more of a competitor-based pricing strategy if you have a very competitive space where it's a little more standardized. And then the last one is just putting it all together in a simple pricing page at the end of the day. And you can do that and design it, get some nice V1 versions of this design, whether that's using ChatGPT, Claude, or any other AI tools as well. You could just take that pricing page, copy, and then just plow it in there, get your own branding, and you are good to go. So the link to the GPT is below as well. But I wanted to just wrap up and say, if you want more deep dives like this, hit the like, subscribe button as well, and you will be the first to know when our next episodes come out that go through these deep dives and give you the practical frameworks to actually implement them in your business in 15 minutes or less. Bye for now.